What's up guys, Azuri here, and we're finally here at the end of the month, meaning it is time for another tier list. So this month, G set 13 was a climax set for GNX, so this is the last set for GNX. Next month we're going into GZ, or GZ, how do you want to call it. As per tradition for most of the end of season sets, they are very unimpactful to the meta, for the most part at least. I honestly think this set is pretty reflective of that. I think one deck in particular got a bunch of very needed and good upgrades, and we had another deck come out of this set that turned out to be quite good. So yeah, we're gonna go over everything. So let's start. So same tiering as last time. I think these actually work really well, so we will not change it. So first off, the deck that I think that have issues, I think Asha belongs there. I think Asha definitely belongs there. Honestly speaking, there's not a whole other decks I think I'd put here anymore. I think Charheart can probably go there. Yeah, I think I'll probably put Blasters here too. That deck isn't too particularly amazing. So yeah, I think all these decks are like, they're still like bare bones playable. I don't think they're like too horrendously bad or anything. I actually think Asha is pretty fucking bad, so we'll put her at the very end. I think Blast was probably better than BI, something like this. So Asha, obviously, like I probably went over this last month. They lost Jingle Theria, they lost the thing they made that I could, and to nobody's surprise, even with support from this month, I actually forget this clan even got support this month in the set. But yeah, this deck is still in the dumpster after getting hit. The support we got this month was completely and utterly useless. Not what the deck was looking for at all whatsoever. They did not get their multi-attacker being the Noel. So the deck is probably off the list next month if I remember to take it off. So yeah, this deck is quite bad right now. I think Neonectar is pretty close to unplayable. The deck draws a bunch. It can kind of multi-attack here and there, but nothing too impressive. DI is here. They have a solid game plan for the most part. But the way this deck will only ever win is if they like recycle a bunch of heals and heal like 6 times a game. Source, that happened to me once. But yeah, the deck doesn't really do anything too threatening. Just sometimes it just shuffles back a bunch of triggers and that flips a bunch of triggers and you die because of that. But other than that, deck's pretty not threatening, and Blasters are there. This deck doesn't do a whole lot, and it has a very solid game plan. It's pretty good aggro early, I guess. But yeah, nothing too particular with this deck that makes it any better than this. Just very bleh. Nothing too special, nothing too amazing. So yeah. And for Rogue, the good old Chaos can stay here. Next month I'll probably go up to like one of these tiers. Probably if I had to guess, getting a lot of support next month. So yeah, I won't go over that. Chaos still deals with some matchups really well, but realistically, the deck in terms of power level probably goes here, but it will always have its niche of being the deck that can lock stuff. So yeah. And the other deck that was here last month was Golds, and I think Golds I will keep here, but I think Golds have a very good matchup against some of the other good decks in the game right now. This deck actually had a very high and good showing at the recent CS, playing like a different build than what a lot of people play. I think the main thing is that they were playing the Grade 2 that scaled specifically. I think that let the deck pushes much better because your numbers are a lot better. And they were playing the Slamey, I think it's the name of the Grade 1 dog. The Grade 1 dog that basically has the same effect as Gurgit's GB2 to except the cost is that it retires itself and you do the same thing with Gurgit's skill, but I think it's check top 3 instead. But yeah, Gurgit actually has like relatively solid matchups across the board if you can just make your van really big. So yeah, just for that, I don't think Gurgit as a deck is particularly good. I think the highest I'd put it would be playable. But I think Gurgit as a deck actually does have a very solid matchup against the good deck specifically. 21k base also really makes Dominate not very happy either, so there's also that. So yeah, at highest I'd put it in playable, but I think I will leave Gurgit and Rogue just because the deck just kind of loses to a bunch of random other stuff. So yeah, does good against the good decks for the most part. I think you can still lose some games obviously, but this deck also just randomly gets dicked on by a bunch of other stuff that isn't as good. Like For example, X I think still loses really hard to Luard, despite Luard being nerfed or choice restricted. And there was a new flavor of Luard-esque playstyle, which is augment the board every turn, which is also quite popular. So I think for that reason, I'll leave Gurgit in Rogue. But if you want actual placement of these two specifically, I think Chaos would probably be down here, and I think Gurgit would probably be up here. But this special tier will be just for them, just because they have they do pretty special things. So yeah, that's it for that. And then for tier 2, you go there, you go there, you go there. You can go here too, I guess. You can go here, and yeah, I think I'll leave it at this. So we will go over these two decks, because these two decks actually got upgrades this month. So Blade Master is Blade Master, not much else to say about it. It retires a bunch of stuff. It has Novell, it has Ziegenberg, just an overall very solid deck. It draws a bunch of cards. Not a whole lot to say about it. It's just a solid deck. Not a whole lot to go over. Prisms have been doing the same thing they've done for like how many sets now? But the deck did actually get support this month. But just like Neo Nectar, the support that it got was basically useless. I don't think anyone actually plays the new GR, despite the new GR being specifically for Prisms. But that GR, realistically speaking, is just a worse Olivia. So yeah. Not much else to say about Prisms. They've been doing the same thing, and they will continue doing the same things. And Night Rose, again, Night Rose just does Night Rose things. It's in my opinion still the worst out of all the combo decks. So as such, I will leave it here. And then finally these two new decks. These two new decks actually got a bunch of stuff. If you want me to order this, I think I'd probably put like Night Rose, probably like. I think I actually leave these three in this order. I actually think Gears are actually quite good now. I think Vanquisher stays at the bottom, so I guess we'll go with Vanquisher first. Vanquisher got a bunch of good stuff from the new wave of support from its clan event. V-Buster is a card that lets you bind a bunch of stuff and scale at the same time, so really good there. But the main inclusion for Vanquisher that I got that makes the deck a lot better is the Descendant Sigma, giving the deck access to actual more than 3 attacks points at 5. So really good there. But the Sigma actually did get quote-unquote nerfed back to how the card was intended to work. The card no longer draws 2 for no reason on restand. So yeah, with the draw 2 deck was like really good, because like you could just when going for a game, you can stand down an entire hand and you just randomly draw back all your cards if you didn't already have them. So that's pretty cool there. But yeah, at the end of the day, this deck is still like quite prone to bricking sometimes. Sometimes you just don't draw intercepts. Sometimes you just don't draw guards. Pretty much as always, Vanquisher just feels like a worse Blade Master to play for the most part. So yeah, obviously has its gimmick of binding stuff too, but for the most part, this deck just feels like a worse Blade Master in pretty much every way. Just historically, Vanquisher has just been a worse Blade Master, so no surprise there that that's honestly what the deck feels like. It just feels like a bad Blade Master. And finally, Chrono Jet actually got a bunch of stuff that makes the deck really good in my opinion. I got 2 GRs this set, being the Avenir Phoenix and the Gear Next. Gear Next being the card the deck really wanted in my opinion, because just going over those 2 GRs, Avenir Phoenix is a great finisher because you also got a grade 2 that extends, similar to something like a Twin Sword or like a Suleiman, lets you like attack with one side and then attack with that, and then just call something over the other side to get an extra heck after that. So Avenir is a really good finisher. But I think the real gem that the deck got that makes it a lot better is Gear Next, because Gear Next is not only is it a Vanguard restand that gets really big on restand, it lets you draw cards too. So overall in the exchange with Gear Next, you get 5 drives, and you go a total of -1 because you put 3 back for cost and you draw 2 total. So a restand that's for a very cheap cost, as well as the fact that the card is putting cards back into the deck, meaning as you are pushing and doing stuff, you are refilling your deck, even though it is only by 1 card. That 1 card can make quite the big difference, especially if you do it twice, because you get to push while putting raising the card counts in your deck. I think that was one of Gear's biggest issue, is that the deck was very prone to decking out. I think Gear Next actually helps the issue quite a bit, even though it is only 1 card. And then main deck also got a bunch of new stuff. They got like got a card that spins that's not GB locked. Although it is a bit RNG based, but it is still a spin that is not GB locked, which is really good. They have a card that can search top 3 for to add ZTBs to their hand, and they have a card that extends, and they have an attack extender as well that can also just fill up board. So got a bunch of new toys to play with, and I think they're all really good. Got a new Stride Fodder too, but that's mainly only play because it does have ZTB trait, and then also got a Recycler grade 1 as well. So the deck just got a bunch of great cards, and I think all those cards added up to like a piece, add up together to make the deck a lot more playable than it has ever been. So yeah, fortunately I don't think I'd put it any higher than tier 2 just because I think the deck is still like a little bit weaker than the other decks, but nonetheless I think Gears is still a very playable deck. I think I should move Gears below Blade Master. So yeah, do it like this. So yeah, Gears, very, very solid deck. Oh yeah, and then they also still have multiple background and stuff that are tutorable, so very nice there. So that's it for Gears, and that's it for all of tier 2. And then as for tier 1, I will put you here, you here, you here, and you here, in this order specifically, I think. So, Fenrir is kind of, we'll go over other decks first. So, Luard, a lot of people are like, oh, lol, this deck dead, got nerfed, yada, yada, yada. I think this deck is still really good. This deck, I treated similar to how I treated, Neo Nectar before, where it was like a gatekeeper deck where like, if you couldn't at least beat Luard, your deck probably isn't very good. Granted, there are some really like weird decks here, like Vanquisher, for example. Vanquisher being the main one that I can see here that just like specifically counters Luard. But aside from like specific counter matchups, I think Luard still for the most part beats a bunch of these decks here. I think like the only thing that I can say for sure that it probably doesn't beat is like Vanquisher. Really gives it a hard time now because the bind is so much faster. Blade Master probably. Honestly, I don't think there's the argument to put Blade Master here. I think I actually will put Blade Master up to like the bottom tier 1. Yeah, like I don't think it beats Blade Master anymore. I think it did before, but I think now with Blade Master getting stuff and Lure getting choice restricted, it probably doesn't beat it anymore. So, and Blade Master is a solid deck, so I think I actually will bump Blade Master up. So, yeah. Gears can be like Gears is just like a toss up between 50-50, I think. But for the most part, I think Luard still beats like every deck under here, so I don't really see a reason to put Luard lower. I think Luard is still a very strong deck, and when I say Luard, I'm specifically talking about 0 damage. I think 0 damage is still the best way to play the deck, and I think 0 damage Luard is still a very solid deck. Claret is here because it's basically doing the same thing Luard is doing, but better, because this deck can just turbo out Agumons like every turn. The only turn after that you can't just like turbo out Agumons like the first turn, where you might not have it to a 5 and drop. But after that, you're just going Agumon to Agumon to Agumon, then you'll eventually kill them with like Drag Strider or something. So, yeah, Claret, very, very good deck. Again, this is also the 0 damage variant. The video that I uploaded like a few days ago on my own channel. So if you're interested in what that is, go check that out. But yeah, I think this deck is very, very solid. I think this deck is quite good, and it's basically the same vein as Luard. It just kind of like dicks on everything down here. I think everything down here probably struggles against Claret. So yeah, the deck also had a great showing at CS. I think it had like one game on stream where it lost because the Hari player top deck Stride Fodder, and then after getting Augment for their entire hand. So unlucky for that guy. And every other time Luard would have been on stream, the deck, not Luard, Claret would have been on stream, got banned. So I think that goes to show how solid that deck actually is. So yeah, I will put it here. I won't put it any higher just because deck is still fairly new, so I'm not like entirely sure how good that deck actually is. I've been playing it a bit myself, and the deck feels very, very solid to play. So yeah, I'll leave it here in like the lower half of tier 1. Alt Mile, the deck just doesn't have a good showing anymore. Like the deck just kind of, the deck just kind of like, it feels like it just isn't doing enough. As funny as that sounds, the deck just feels like it just isn't doing enough to warrant putting it any higher. Like the deck feels like it doesn't push hard enough, doesn't kill hard enough. So as such, I still think the deck is still really good. It's definitely very consistent, if anything. But the deck just sometimes just feels like it just dies. It just doesn't draw cards. So because of that, I will bump Alt Mile down like into the lower end tier 1. Don't get me wrong, I think this deck is still really, really good, but because of that, because of just how it just feels like it just doesn't feel like it does like better than when these two decks are. Obviously, I think I'm gonna put these two decks up here. And because of that, I will lower Alma down a little bit just because of that. And Fenrir is a very hard deck for me to place because like this deck can do very degenerate things. Obviously, the deck can either, I think there's like two very valid builds for this deck. You like, I say different builds, but more like two different play styles. There's the 0 damage variant, which not a whole lot of people do, because I don't think a lot of people know how to do it or know about it. But I think that variant is does really degenerate things, but has its own fair share of drawbacks. Being you have to actually like draw the, you have to like, it's a little more piece reliant than like the regular OTK list, and then obviously the other OTK list where you push opponent as fast as possible, and then on first stride just try to kill him first stride. So yeah, very hard to place. When it pops off on either game plan, I think it is probably one of the best decks in the game. If not, I think it can go anywhere. It can go all the way down here for just bricks. Like obviously you have games where like where you just like draw all your Taros, damage your Taros, and all that. But the games where it pops off is very good, and then with the Awanami loop now that you can do, 2 Taros become 4. So because of that, I think it is really nice that you have like you have a way to recycle Taros. That being said, it only works with Medusa specifically, but people that reuse Taros is still really cool. So yeah, I think I'll leave it here for now. Probably like, yeah, probably put like I don't know. I'll just put it here for now. It does have its own fair share of inconsistencies. And the Altma is just a very consistent deck, so I'll just put it up here for now. So yeah. And then finally, we have the top of tier 1, Nubas. Very dominant on ladder. This deck is like everywhere. Every other game you'll run into like Nubas. And I think that's very fair because the deck is very good at pushing. The deck, as opposed to Altma, has a lot more draw power. You have before you only had the Genkai, but now you also have the new Tamahagane that binds top and adds a hand, so basically a draw 1. So yeah, the deck has a bunch of draw power, as well as being able to push really well and has a really strong kill turn. So you can look at Nubas as like a slightly less consistent alt mile, but can actually draw piece. It can draw instead of searching like grade 2s to play them down. So because you can draw into guards, obviously, and I think that's my biggest gripe with alt mile is that you just randomly don't draw guards and die. And with Shiranui, you just draw. You draw like all your plusing cards are draws, meaning you can more reliably draw into your guards. There are obviously still games where you just don't draw them because lol RNG, but I think overall Shiranui is just a very solid deck because it pushes really well. It draws a bunch of stuff, meaning you can draw into more guards and your pieces, and has a very lethal kill turn. And something else to note is that this deck also has a board disruption or like board removal as opposed to alt mile. So this deck can actually like play it slightly slower if it wants to as well. You can just clean up whatever's on the board and then just go for like a good like two maybe 3ish damage. So yeah, aside from being a deck that pushes really well, it also has a board removal, so that's always a plus for a deck. And finally, we have, in my opinion, what's probably the best deck right now is Hari. The deck is really good at pushing, very good at killing. 1 CB is all it needs to pop off. And just, yeah, very solid deck. Gets its pieces easily enough. In the CS, we saw a bunch of lists playing Dreamy Fortress over like one of the beater slots, and I think that's a really cool like thought process. Is that because the deck puts everything in a soul at the end of the turn, and you really ever have multiple intercept with Dreamy Fortress, as long as you end your combo line with 1 intercept up, being obviously that one being the Dreamy Fortress, and you can get multiple in the soul, they count as multiple intercepts. So because of that, I think that's actually a really cool way to like look at it. I think that was more of a like a tourney, very controlled environment. I think it's pretty much of like a meta call instead because that it can deal with dominate. I think I don't actually know how it works if you dominate the Dreamy Fortress and then have it die with Magen Tenbu. So I don't know how that works. Never tried it myself. Never seen it happen. But in theory, it should be pretty good because in a situation where you have like multiple Dreamy Fortresses in Soul and they all come out after one of them dies, it's like you have multiple intercepts on the board. So that's really nice there too. So gives the deck an option to play defensively as well, which I think is really cool. So yeah, because of that, I think Hari, regardless of how you build it, you can still play like the normal ladder Unga Bunga hit face build, or you can try it with Dreamy or whatever. I think regardless, Hari is still a very solid deck because it does everything for really cheap. 1 CB is all it needs to pop off, and I think that's really dumb. So yeah, so that's it for this month's tier list. Not a whole lot of changes to be honest, just like some like small rearranging. The main things here I think is Claire being added as a really strong deck and getting cards to make the deck playable. Some swaps around on the list and all that, but yeah, I think overall, not the most changes, just some changing of opinions more than anything. But yeah, that's it for this month's tier list. Tell me guys what you think about the meta down below in the comments. Like and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.